What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Homie Hangout, where we help others move in excellence. I'm going to talk about an individual named Leonard Cure, okay? And if you haven't heard that name yet, you will in the coming days. And a lot of that centers around something that happened on Monday. And we're going to get into it, and there's a lot of layers to it, man. It's interesting, it's tragic, it's a lot of stuff, okay? So, Georgia, that's where he's at, that's where he lives, but his family is from Broward County. That's where he's originally from. And so he had left his mom's in Broward County, which is South Florida, like kind of by Miami, and was on I-95 heading home to Georgia. I've been on I-95. It's beautiful. It rides all along the east coast of Florida. And he had just crossed over into Georgia in a place called Camden County when he gets pulled over. It's 7:30 in the morning on Monday. He's riding, it's like a little 3-lane, interstate. And there's a cop in the slow lane, right, a Camden County sheriff. And all of a sudden you see, because there's dash cam footage, all that other stuff, all of a sudden you see this truck, and the truck is driving faster than everybody else, for sure, right? In the fast lane. Cop goes behind him, blurts him. You see the truck, Leonard's driving. You see the truck going, and he puts on his blinker and looks like he's getting over into the middle lane, then changes his mind, gets back in the fast lane. Police say that he was doing about 90 when he passed the cop, and he got up to speeds of about 100 miles an hour. But it wasn't like a chase or anything. He got through this little hotbed of traffic and then whoop, went straight over to the shoulder, right? Cop pulls in behind him. Cop gets out the car, doesn't have his gun in his hand or anything, but cop gets out the car. He's riding solo, no partner. And he's like, hey man, get out of the truck. Get out of the truck, right? And he's yelling at Leonard to get out the truck. Leonard gets out, stands there. Man, what's up, man? He goes, put your hands on the back of the truck. He said, I ain't doing shit. And kind of stands at attention, right? So they got this little standout. Pause right there. We're going to pick back up in that moment in just a second. Leonard Cure, back in 2003, was convicted of robbery, right? Armed robbery, gun, the whole 9 yards, of a Walgreens down there in Broward County. And he was sentenced to life in prison for that. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that he has prior robberies and other convictions. So he was sentenced to life. Fast forward, 2020, he becomes the first person ever freed and exonerated. Because some people get released based on these appeals, but not necessarily exonerated. He's the first one to be released and fully exonerated from the Broward County, crime inspection unit or crime review unit or whatever they call it, right? This group of people that looks at what could be faulty cases. And he was helped out by the Florida Innocence Project, of course. They do a lot of good work in this area. And a couple of the things that helped him to clear his name and to get cut loose was, at the time of the robbery, he was out of the area. He was miles away. He had said he was miles away. He had an ATM receipt showing that he was miles away, and that was not produced at his trial, right? Also, a witness to the robbery looked at a 6-pack of pictures, right? 6-pack of pictures is where it's supposed to be 6 pictures of different people that all have similar characteristics, and then you point and do the whole 9. So a witness had looked at a 6-pack and picked out Leonard, but come to find out, there was multiple pictures of Leonard in this 6-pack, right? You can't do that. You're stacking the odds. There was nothing physical that put him there. There was no forensic evidence, nothing else. He had a prior for robberies, and so they hooked him up for this one. So he gets cut loose, right? He gets cut loose. He gets fully exonerated. Earlier this year, he wins a settlement, right? The governor of Florida signs off on a settlement. He gets like over $800,000 in cash, essentially, and then free education, right? Education perks. And so that money he actually just got physically in August. He had just received that settlement in August for his 16+ years of wrongful incarceration, frankly, okay? So keeping that in mind, right? Again, he went to see his mom. You see he gets pulled over, traffic stop. He was flying. You can see it. So he's standing at attention. I ain't doing shit. Cop's like, man, you're going to put your hands on the back of the truck. And they get into a little verbal exchange. And Leonard winds up, he's kind of making some erratic motions. He keeps putting his hand in the sky. But he comes and he puts his hands on the truck. But he has them like on the tailgate, but he's standing by the back driver tire, right? Driver's side tire. So it's awkward. It's not what you picture when you picture somebody putting their hands, on a tailgate or on the hood or whatever. And the cop is there and he's trying to hook him up. He's like, man, what you got me for? He's like, me speeding, reckless driving. You know, you going to jail, right? This Camden County Sheriff, he identifies himself. In the video, you see that Leonard initially identified himself by a different name. And I can't quite make out what it is, so I'm not going to pretend to pronounce it, but it sounds like he was using like an Arabic name or a Muslim name. In the media stuff that I've seen, a lot of times, you know, if somebody adopts one of those names, they'll say, hey, here's so-and-so who goes by this. I haven't seen that in any of the media stuff that I've come across, so I don't know, right? But his behavior is off, for sure. And so the cop's sitting there, he's like, man, you going to jail? What am I going to jail for? You know, you got these tickets. Well, I ain't got a ticket. Well, you got a ticket now, you're going to go to jail. And this is being difficult. The cop goes to handcuff him at some point, because now the cop has his taser out. He goes to handcuff him at some point, and Leonard kind of raises his hand, and the cop backs up again, keeps talking to him, and eventually goes to tase him. He tases him. Leonard turns around. He takes the charge at first, and then turns around and comes for the cop, and he's trying to grab the wires out. And the cop's kind of backing up, but you got a whole, you know, there's a highway right here. You know what I mean? And so they wind up locking up, and they're kind of wrestling, this and that. The sheriff tases him again, pulls out a baton, kind of tries to hit him with the baton, but he can't leverage because they're up close. You know, they got each other grappled, and they're just kind of jockeying for position. Leonard winds up getting the upper hand on the cop, right, and kind of has him by his neck and his face, and he's pushing him like this, and he's like, yeah, bitch. Yeah, bitch. And at that point, the cop pulls his service, and right inside, it was on the left side, I believe, right here in the left, almost armpit, hits him one time. Pop! Leonard drops. The cop backs up, you know, he's still draw down on him. And he's like, man, stay where you are, stay where you are. The cop's whooped. He's out of breath, right? Leonard goes to try to get up, and he's like, man, it's too late. Leonard says, man, it's too late. And so the cop stays on him. He calls for backup, shots fired, the whole 9 yards. He had called for backup when he first went to handcuff him. You know, he had said, I got, you know, one resisting or something like that. And backup just didn't come, right? But actually, the first backup he gets is actually like a Brink security truck. You see in the dash cam footage where he must have noticed this and pulled over ahead of where they're pulled over at, and then just reversed it in the grass on the shoulder. And so he comes up, but by the time he's there, Leonard's already on the ground with a hole in him. And so when he comes and provides cover with his firearm, the cop cuffs Leonard up. Leonard kept trying to get up at various moments. The cop never shot him anymore, you know. And nonetheless, then he cuffs him when he has coverage. Other officers arrive. They do CPR until EMS arrives. And at the end of the day, Leonard doesn't make it, right? Leonard loses his life. So sad situation. And initially the response is what you would kind of expect the response to be, right? Here's another man gunned down by police, right? Leonard is black, the police officer is white, but just abuse of people of color by police, regardless of what the race of the police are, you know, it is something that gets a lot of attention. But in particular, when the victim is black and the officer is white. So, you know, there's a lot said, and Leonard, since he's come home, right, he's held down a job consistently. He's gone to the Innocent Project. He's helped to train prosecutors, you know, or advise prosecutors. He's been an encouragement to men getting out of prison. He has not been out here running amok, you know, at all. And he really wasn't running amok when he got this robbery either. He had priors, but he had a full-time job then and was kind of doing his thing. And I can't help but looking. So the reality is there was nothing else that officer could have done. Okay, and I'm not one who often defends police. I'm very critical of police. I don't work with them. I challenge them, you know, in their professional role. I don't see watching a dash cam and a body cam how this officer could have done anything different. I don't think that he was setting out to hurt somebody that day. He jumped out aggressive, right, and jumped out loud. But he was just chasing this dude, and there was traffic. And again, it wasn't a big chase. It was a couple miles, but you know, he's speeding and flying, and cops will a lot of times come out loud to kind of assert control over the situation, right? And I think that's what he was doing, but he didn't have a weapon in his hand, you know? A lot of times cops do that just off top. As soon as they come out, they already have their gun out. He didn't. even when Leonard stood at attention, and he's not a small guy, he got a little size on him. He was wearing a slingshot, and he still didn't, right away go that route, and was still talking to them. And they were both talking, with their chest, right, with a lot of energy, but it wasn't physical. And even when Leonard first resisted and the cop backed up again, that's a de-escalation thing. He didn't, oh, you're moving, now let me just hop on you. He still stepped back. Look, man, this is what's going to happen. This is what I'm going to do, and this is why. This is who I am. Here's my name. Here's who I work for, the whole 9 yards. And I've seen some of the comments in other media spaces of the dash cam, and there's talk about, oh, Leonard looked like he was on drugs. Leonard looked like this and that. I don't know the dude personally, of course. It does look like with his swerving and that kind of stuff, but the sad part is probably his anxiety. And I'm not saying that excuses anything. He just did 16 years, was wrongfully convicted, right? And he's been home for a couple now. He just got the state of Florida, which is not a left-leaning state by any stretch. He just got the state of Florida to agree that he was wrongfully incarcerated and exonerated him and cast him out almost $1 million. He was in the process of buying a house outside of Atlanta. He was looking to go to school and wanted to produce music. So he had some dreams, he had some goals, right? And he has some resources now. And he'd gotten some vindication. But I know even myself, I haven't been wrongfully incarcerated like that. I get nervous when lights are behind me. When a cop goes to pull me over, there's a lot of times that they'll hit the lights behind me, I'm moving, they keep going, and that's a deep sigh of relief, right? My demeanor changes when I'm getting pulled over. And there's an anxiety, there's a risk, because you just never know, right? I've been beat up by cops before, but I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm not riding around dirty, so it's not that. I just don't want to have any interaction with them. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want them to talk to me. I don't want them to know I exist, right? Just let me do my thing. I don't want no part of whatever you got going on with whatever. And I would imagine Leonard probably felt the same way, and rightfully so. Now, I think some of the knee-jerk reaction before the video came out and kind of showed what happened is because Camden County, Georgia is beyond problematic, right? Like, they have 150 slots, I believe, give or take, in their sheriff's department, and only around 100 of them are full. They've had numerous officers arrested and indicted for smashing on people in jail, most of the time black people, for doing all kinds of reckless stuff towards people in the community, most of the time towards black people, wrecking cars, their insurance company. I haven't heard of this before, but the insurance company that insures the sheriff's department, specific as it relates to their vehicles and it relates to their correction system, dropped them. They dropped them. Like, we can't insure you anymore. You guys are out here wrecking cars. You're doing all these crazy high-speed chases, these reckless pit stops. You're beating people in the jails. Folks are getting arrested. They're getting indicted. There's a pretty well-known case for people that watch this stuff of a female officer just bamming another handcuffed person in a traffic stop, slamming their head against their car, beating them up. So Camden County has priors. And I wonder if that added to the anxiety maybe that Leonard felt, right? Is, first off, I'm getting pulled over. Who knows? He might not even have been pulled over before since he's been home. I don't know. But regardless, man, I already been pulled over. Or now I'm getting pulled over. And he asks the cop where you from. The cop tells him Camden County. And that kind of adds to his anxiety or his reaction, right? His resistance. And it's very likely he could have been thinking like, oh, no, this county has priors, right? And this stuff been all over the news in Georgia. We don't, see it out here on the West Coast much, but it's been all over the news out there. I'm sure he's aware. He's connected with these nonprofits and these groups. He's in the mix. I'm sure he's aware of police brutality happening around him, right? And so, man, I'm in Camden County. I'm on the side of the road. I've seen videos of what they do to people on the side of the road. I just got cashed out by these folks. People, I'm sure, hate that. The system hates that. This, what's going on? And I think that man might have led to how he reacted. But the reality is, you were smashing, bro. You were going 90 on the freeway, and there was other cars around. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was reckless driving, in my opinion. Maybe my standard's different. But he was driving faster than the flow of traffic. And I think that's what it was. So maybe there was alcohol involved. Maybe he was intoxicated. The cop didn't, say anything like that. I'm sure we'll find out from the autopsy, because they're going to do an autopsy because it's a officer involved situation, I would imagine. So we'll find out, but it's just sad, man. This dude was done wrong by the system, right? Clearly. And that happens, and some people get compensated. Some people it gets acknowledged, and most people they don't. And people of every color and every walk of life are taken advantage of by the system, or come up short by the system. Oftentimes it's brown and black folks, but it's not like it doesn't happen to plenty of other people too. But so he was done wrong, and he got vindicated in some way for that. You don't get that time back, but it was really acknowledged, and a lot of folks don't get that. There's no way for the cop to know this when he's pulling them over, though. The cop is just pulling over somebody because that's his job. But there's a speed limit. You're going a whole lot faster. Pull over. And the officer doesn't know what's going on with him. I don't think the officer got up that day looking to go hurt somebody. Again, his behavior that I see, you couldn't really do much better, right? If I'm him, not that I could ever put my shoes, myself in the shoes of a cop, but I'll tell you this much, man, you are not going to whoop me if I got a pistol on my head. That's what's not going to happen. I'll still squabble with you, but I'm not going to get beat up when I got a gun. Yeah, right. And I think that cop felt the same way, right? And really, he was just doing his job. So it's supposed to show that you never know what's going on. It's a sad situation. It's sad for Leonard's family, right? That finally gets to see him. It's sad for him. In reality, he did it to himself. He did it to himself in the way that he acted during that traffic stop. Trust me, if I thought it was different, I would say different. But one of the things I do on here is just tell you guys honestly what I think about stuff. Here's how I feel. Here's how I see it. But if you agree, disagree, whatever, jump in the comments and let me know what your guys' thoughts are. I think it's just tragic. This cop, now he was real emotional in the dash cam footage and stuff. I'm sure it traumatized him. A lot of officers would have lit up Leonard laying on the ground several times just from him trying to get up. And we see that all the time. Somebody hit by the cops 10 times, 12 times, 50 times. And that's not the case here, but one is enough, man. Anytime you get hit with a bullet, you taking a chance. And Leonard lost that fight, man. And so it's sad, but actions have consequences, right? And that was the consequence for his actions on Monday. I feel for his family, though. It didn't have to go that way. We can hate authority. We can be done wrong by the system. We can feel how we want to feel about the system. But again, actions have consequences when you're talking about in-person stuff, And I think Leonard's anxiety got the best of him. And I could understand where that anxiety comes from. But I could also understand why the officer pulled the trigger. It just sucks for everybody involved. So, anyways, help others move in excellence, man. That's what homies do. Help yourself at the same time because you're worth it. Help your community because they need you. And let me know in the comments. I'm sure you guys will see. I'll link, in fact. I'll drop links in the description to the dash cam footage and to the body cam footage. Let me know what you guys think. Could this have been done different? And just keep it respectful. All right? Take care.